it's hard to believe that the thing that we work all year to create, these 3 beautiful, perfect days, are just about to be over. But I'm really hungry, and I really want a hot dog. There's hot dogs and champagne downstairs, so the sooner we get through this, the sooner we can all eat hot dogs and drink champagne. We need to do a couple of things first, though. First thing that I know you are all dying to know, each year we create crews. Crews at Frank create instant community. Every single one of you, even if you didn't know a single soul at this gathering, met a group of kindred spirits who became your tribe and your fellow soldiers in the fight for trivia wisdom. Last year's crew trophy went to Amy Lynn Smith's crew. She is an extraordinary crew captain, and so I'm going to ask her to come out and present our crew trophy.
Thank you. Hello, I'm very happy to be up here to pass on the mantle, so to speak. As you may know, those of you who've been here before, but for those who have not, it's a tradition for the crew of the year to add something to this trophy. We had this lovely taxidermied creature first. Mouse, I'm sorry, thank you. I can't see it, I'm behind it. Last year, our crew wrote a poem as a team to really reflect the team spirit of the cruise and of what Frank is all about. So I'm very excited. I'm trusting this is the right envelope to tell you who is taking on the winning the crew of the year, and it is. Everybody ready? Crew of the year goes to Kale, yeah!
Woo! Do we have any representatives?
Do we have any representatives from Kale, yeah, here who would like to come down and receive your trophy?
Oh, yeah.
Is it the right envelope?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you did. It really is the right envelope. It really is the right envelope. And now your crew gets to decide what you would like to add to the trophy, and you can do that later. And congratulations to all of you.
Yeah. So yesterday we got to witness a fantastic episode of 7 Minutes in Heaven, in which miraculously we had 4 people enjoying 7 minutes in heaven in a closet together. You have voted, the votes are in, and here is Kristen Grimm to tell us who won.
All right, so a couple of important things before we take the envelope. So first is that my husband was mad about me bringing him up on live stream. And then I was like, it was 7 minutes in heaven. He's like, 7 minutes in heaven with a cougar. So I guess he got me back. So I was like, rough. Anyway, and I appreciate all of you telling me you're all on his side, by the way. So I appreciated the drop-bys at breakfast this morning. Thanks for that. And I also wondered about why we voted 3 times. And then I realized, because I thought, Annie's really normally more on top of it than this. But I realized that there's an alternative universe where in each different universe, one of the scientists won because they are each so awesome. But we are today in this universe. So let's see what we got. A little nervous about this. Lisa Fazio. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Lisa. There's a big sack of money waiting for you in the lobby. All right. I don't want to go one more minute without thanking Liz Winstead for making so fantastic. I know I don't really get a choice about whether I come here every year, but I do come because of you. And I think that that's true for many, many of us in the room. You make it so special. You make it so meaningful. Every moment, your energy, your humor, your kindness, your joy. It makes it so special. So thank you so much. There is somebody else who I can't go another moment without thanking, who thinks about Frank every moment of every day. As far as I can tell, she has never slept, not one time. And she is the extraordinary kind of colleague who tells me when I'm wrong all the time. And she's right. Ellen, we are so grateful to you.
Thank you. There it is. Thank you, guys. So thank you so much for everyone. Every year I love doing this. They see me walking around bleary-eyed, and some people see me really early in the Hampton Inn. I'm bleary-eyed walking around, but I do love doing it. And one of the things that makes the job so great is working with all the students. And I know you've seen all the Frank ambassadors who are around. We've got about 200 volunteers who just do an amazing job, and I hope you all have had a chance to talk with them and find out about what their passions are and what drives them and what a special program we have here at the University of Florida. But there's a few of our Frank team that I have to thank. These people have grown up with us. They were babies when they first came to us, and now they're seniors. And while they're graduating and we're sad, we're actually really obviously pleased and excited to send them out into the world to you all. You will see, you'll see some with the hire me buttons. Those are probably my seniors. And I have to read from the list. They'll understand this. Erin, where's Erin? Woo! We love you, Erin. Lauren, back up in our booth making all the music happen. Kelsey making the slides happen. Katie Barrier, somewhere probably around making sure everything happens, all things happen. You all met Taylor and Louisa here on the stage. They did a fabulous job. Jackie, taking care of things for me somewhere, probably making the hot dogs, getting the hot dogs ready. And Angela, who has been our stage director for the last 2 years, I think. Anyway, thank you all very much.
Thank you. It's remarkable to me each year that while Frank exists in not one person's job description, it emerges each year as this beautiful, extraordinary result of our collective contribution, something that every single person in this room and countless people who aren't in this room make beautiful and shining and special. There is a page in your commonplace book listing all of the extraordinary people who make Frank happen. I have to acknowledge, though, Betsy Carell and her gift to the University of Florida. This would not happen without her. I have to acknowledge our dean, who is so supportive of public interest communications and what is growing here. And I also have to thank the extraordinary tech team. You guys have been amazing. These guys work such long hours, they have such early calls, and you really make Frank so magical and so special. And our sponsors. Not one person who registered for Frank had a cost that was equal to what it costs us to create Frank for each of you. And that's really important. That's really important. And so every single person who is in this room has had their registration supported by the foundations who support us. So we are deeply, deeply grateful to our friends at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Atlantic Philanthropies, the Barnett family, my own college, the College of Journalism and Communications, and Visit Gainesville. Without them, Frank would be very difficult to create in the production experience that you have. There are lots more people that I would really love to thank. Our extraordinary advisors, Kristen, Aaron, all of you who work so incredibly hard. I could spend a really long time, but I can actually smell the hot dogs. So please look for people who have been part of this. You have all been part of this. So I also just want to tell you about a couple of really cool things that are happening at University of Florida that didn't come up yet. We are launching a journal of public interest communications. This has been a passion project for my dear colleague, Linda Hahn, who worked with our dean to gain support for an editor who joined us here. I don't know if Birgitta is still with us, but Birgitta Bruner Johnson is going to join us as the editor, and Lauren Griffin is also making this happen. And our first journal is launching April 1st. First ever Journal of Public Interest Communications. I'm super excited about that. Our online master's is launching very, very soon, and we continue to work toward creating a Center for Public Interest Communications. So, yeah. So there's just one more thing that I want to talk about before we all head home. And I want to talk about the fact that each year, Frank changes us. It changes us as we're here. And this year, it changed me. It really forced me to think about what the identity is of a public interest communicator. When I came here to University of Florida 6 years ago, to take on the chair of public interest, the endowed chair in public interest communications, I was given 3 mandates. The first was to build a curriculum. The second was to connect the field. The third was to try to nurture the scholarship that could help us all do our work better. But the real challenge was, what is public interest communications? What is it not? And so, working with Jasper Fessman, we came up with this definition. Public interest communication is the development and implementation of science-based planned strategic communication campaigns with the main goal of achieving significant and sustained action or positive behavioral change on an issue that transcends the particular objectives of any single organization. I'm intensely proud that that is who we are. We do not work in our own interest. We do not work in the interest of our organizations. We work in the interest of the greater good. And that demands so much of us. We have to be so good at it. And we could be simply passionate about that, right? When we care so much about a cause, when we care so much about an issue, we want to go running into the streets and bang pots together, but we cannot do that. Passion is important, but passion alone, if one were, for example, an artist. This is the work of one of my favorite artists. This is original Ann Christiano. But I think of Caroline, who drew this when I was traveling a lot. She drew this is 2 years old, this work. I think if she were to look at it now, she'd probably be pretty critical of it. She'd be like, oh my gosh, that does not even look like a car, and our house doesn't even have a chimney. She'd be mad, right? She'd be like, well, I was passionate, but it wasn't really very good. What happens when we take our passion and mix it with the discipline? What happens when we become the artist who trains and every day does something greater than we did before? What is the virtuoso of social change? Here's another work from one of my favorite artists. This is the work of my beloved friend Natalie Featherston, who is actually here. She's up there. Hi, Natalie. Now, I know that this looks like a mixed media piece, but that is all oil paint. Yeah. Is this, can you still buy this painting, Natalie? You can. Oh, good, okay.
Dinosaur peeing?
It is. Let me just give you so that's the side of, this is all paint. All of that is paint. But what that is what happens when passion and virtuosity come together. Because being really excellent at something isn't about self-expression. It's about spending day after day in the chair painting. It's about staying up late and waking up early. It's about all the stuff that isn't sexy and isn't fun. It's about that really grueling, hard work that brings you to be among the best in your field. Here's another look at passion. That's me. That's me dancing around the living room at age 5. That is such a bad picture of me that I actually wonder whether my mom was taking a picture of the fireplace. But I loved dance. I loved dance so much that my parents put me into ballet class. She has this incredible passion. So I went from dancing around the living room, and after I trained for a while and took some classes, it looked a little bit more like this. And I look at this picture and I'm like, it's not bad. And candidly, wow, I'd love to be able to wear that again. But the other thing that I can't help but notice is that if my right leg were properly turned out, you would see the full sole of my heel. If my left arm were properly placed, that thumb, you wouldn't see that thumb. Like, that thumb offends me. And my right hand, if you look at it, it's kind of hanging off of me like a dead cat. I mean, what even is that? That's hideous. And I look at that and I can see how many things that need to be fixed, need to be corrected. And I say that not because I am a perfectionist, but to be a virtuoso, we must always endlessly self-correct. We must always look for the opportunity to do it better today than we did yesterday. I stopped dancing not long after that picture was taken. I didn't have the passion to maintain the discipline to be great. But what if I had? Maybe I could have been Alessandra Ferri. Isn't she gorgeous? Look at her. She's still dancing. She's 56 years old. This is her signature role as Juliet. And she's flawless. She's absolutely flawless. Mikhail Baryshnikov invited her to come to American Ballet Theater from La Scala, and she stayed there for a while, but she finally left American Ballet Theater because she felt that the training that she was getting as a prima ballerina in that dance company was not rigorous enough. She was already at the top of her field. She was capable of this, and she was not yet satisfied. So I wonder, as I think about this, and as I look at her and her beauty, who are our Alessandra Ferris? Who are our virtuosos? Well, of course you are. And of course we all have to be. We have to have the discipline that allows us to contain and focus our passion to become that. I think about what it would be like if we could do that and what that looks like. And one of my favorite moments, one of my favorite virtuoso moments came at Frank last year. And this is one of my favorite moments from Frank Talks.
We had a core strategy for change that looks at 3 things. One was about consolidating your support, never assuming that those who support you will always support you. They have different political priorities. You'll never be at the top of their list. But also, you can't wait for your side to get into power. You have to work with everybody. Our second piece of that was winning over the movable middle. And I suppose we did that by understanding that people's natural fear of change wasn't necessarily hostility to lesbian and gay people. And very importantly, we sold, which sounds like the wrong word, but we explained gains as gains for everybody. Equality is not a zero-sum game. And our biggest challenge was never to leave losers, because if you leave losers, then your changes can be reversed. And the third part of that was about neutralizing the opposition. Too often we love the row, but letting that go really mattered. One of Glen's founders, and indeed co-chair still, Kieran Rose, coined a phrase. At one point, a Glen went around the country stirring up apathy, but it kind of worked. When we came to the referendum, our research said a few things. It said that Young people were intensely for marriage, couldn't understand how anyone voted no, but turns out they weren't great voters. Women 40 to 65 were very strongly for it because they were influenced by their children and probably would vote yes. And men 40 to 65 were very soft yes voters, and immediately they were challenged by no messages, went straight away to a no. Couldn't quite understand why lesbian and gay couples would want to get married. I mean, look at their experience, was the version we kept coming back. I'm not passing any comment. We get what we want. But we knew that the real triggers were about equal citizenship. That captured people, and fairness and equality. And we set out a strategy based on that research that actually tried to capture those things. A strategy, which in essentially was a public communication strategy for the referendum.
Virtuosity, a brilliant campaign rooted in research, rooted in values, rooted in what people cared most about. That's what virtuosity looks for us. And I think we can continue to add dimensions to that from what we've learned in these past 3 days. So, for Frank 2018, I want you to help us find the virtuosos, but also to help define what that means, what our field will be when we are all the prima ballerina. We started on Wednesday afternoon with one of my favorite poems ever, the Leonard Cohen lines from Anthem. And I love when it says, there's a crack in everything, and that's where the light gets in. And you're the light, relentlessly seeking that crack. And I can't be more grateful to all of you.
Curiosity is that little voice in your brain that says, it starts with, I wonder, and it becomes this itch that you just have to scratch.
And when we tell our stories, let's acknowledge that there may be another point of view.
Speak, be heard for yours. Gotta break codes of silence, heal more straight from violence, no more Billy Cyrus, we more alliance, conscience need.
We have no more time to be tempered, right? We have to be smart and strategic and work with each other. Be radical from wherever you sit, because each of us has a moral and an ethical mandate and a responsibility to communicate radically and with fervor to make change.
It's cold here, no fleece for comfort, it's so weird. Let music bring back the soul, yeah, love all people, inspire.
Because I think that when we begin to tell a different story about the work that we're doing, that it's not just a campaign marching down the field of battle with our strategic plan to take on the enemy, but a dance, a painting, something more exciting.
Hope demands that you open yourself, and then it says, stay there. And just when you're beginning to panic from all of this openness and the catastrophe that will clearly happen if what is in here gets out there, hope allows you to reclose yourself.
Best social movements work because they have good cognitive sciences in it.
Think about what it means to live in a society without trust, and think about what it means to live in a society with trust.
So this is a place for you to convene and learn and hear from and talk to, and please talk to everyone you can.
We live for days of no crime. We need more scholars, deep minds, less drug dealing, more leaders.
Curiosity is a source of empathy. Asking questions of people is a way to begin to step into their experience.
We can all find common purpose that we want to solve. We can bring our superpowers from different areas and come together.